just for kids. I've been trying to film this video so long now, but I keep messing up. I don't know what I'm doing. Who am I? Who is she? I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, in this video, I'm going to talk about books that all have a certain trope in common. It's not very overly specific. I think there's quite a bit of variation in these books, but they all have like a certain thing in common. So like I said, it isn't overly specific like Books and Lala's book recommendations. Like, girl goes specific. Like, she'll be like spacey books, not set in space. But this isn't that at all. This is just about books where there is a sibling missing. What I'm realizing now, like as I'm sitting here, right here, at this very second, is that all the missing siblings are female. But all these books revolve around the sibling that are left trying to deal with their grief or their concern or whatever it is over the other sibling. Also, this list contains 6 books, and I'm going to do them according to the star ratings that I gave them. So the first one I'm going to talk about, also, out of these 6 books, I only own 2 physically. The first one I'm going to be talking about is this one. You May Now Kill the Bride by R.L. Stine, Return to Fear Street. This book I really like. It does go into sibling relationship. It's not very deep. This is like, it's R.L. Stine, guys. First of all, R.L. Stine is the author of Goosebumps, which was the series that I really liked as a child. I know a lot of people read it. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. Like, it's Goosebumps. It was so much fun. It was like horror, scary thriller stories, and so this book, I only gave it 3 stars, but I really still enjoyed it. I read it in a day. It's fun, it's gripping, you read it really quick, and it's told in 2 different timelines. Yeah, so this book is divided into part 1 and part 2. Let me show you. This book is divided into part 1 that happens in 1923 and part 2, which is this year. So yeah, as you can see, part 1 is very, it's quite thin, so it's not as, it's just giving us a bit of background to what happens. This book was published in, let me educate, I think 2018. Yes, it's published in 2018 by Harper Teen, and it's a fun book. So the first story is about these 2 sisters. They don't really get along, and then the older sister kind of steals the younger sister's boyfriend and decides to marry him, and then things happen. And then the second part of the story is kind of, these are their, I think, like their ancestors. So then it's again 2 sisters. No one's stealing anyone's boyfriend this time, but the story does start with one sister about to get married, but then she disappears. And in this case, she's not really missing. She just kind of, like, I'm gonna say where she is because that's like a spoiler. It's a fun story. It's not very serious. It's not very serious. It's not very serious. It's a fun book. Quick read, you can take your mind off things, but yes, our younger sister does deal with a bit of grief and concern because she doesn't know where her sister is, but it's a fun book. If you're going to the beach and you're like, I want to read a book today, read this one. I read it in a day because it's so short. The next one I'm going to be talking about, I do not have a physical copy of, and that I've also a book I have talked about. It's a book I have talked about, and that is People of the Lake by Nick Scorza. I realize I want to say, if I ever call this book Lake People, I'm sorry, because I have called this book Lake People, and it's People of the Lake. It's not Lake People. Both mean the same thing. So, but in this book, we get 16-year-old Clara. If you haven't heard me talk about it before, we get 16-year-old Clara, and she talks to us about her sister who drowned 8 years ago, and she's dealing with a lot of grief in this book. But what also sets this book apart from the others is that there's a very big plot twist that changes everything. But still fun. Also paranormal. So again, it's not a very serious real world issue, but it's a fun book. I enjoyed reading it. I gave it 3.5 stars. The next book I'm going to be talking about, and I think this is an unpopular opinion, controversial opinion. Actually, I don't know, because I've seen people feel the same way I do about this book, and that is Sadie by Courtney Summers. I only gave it 3 stars. So I know I'm going to go this list, but I feel like Sadie is it's quite serious. It deals with really serious topics, so that's why I want to set it apart from the 2 paranormal books, which are very light, fluffy type of books, even though they're not fluffy. But you know what I mean? They're not as serious. Sadie's more of a real world issue. The story of Sadie follows a young girl, Sadie, who's 19 years old, and her sister has been murdered. Her younger sister, who's 13 years old, Mattie, she's been murdered. If it's written with T's, is it Mattie or Maddie? Anyway, so Sadie is up for revenge for, she wants to kill the man who murdered her sister. Sadie obviously deals with a lot of grief over the death of her sister because she was kind of the one taking care of her sister, so in that book we get a lot of grief. And Sadie also, I would think, suffers from some sort of PTSD. She's gone through a lot as a child, and even as she's grown, a 19-year-old woman, she still gets flashbacks to these things that happened to her when she was younger. For Sadie, I will give a trigger warning. Nothing happens on screen, but they do talk about, it's never mentioned in the book, but it deals a lot with sexual assault and pedophilia. So it is a very serious book, I think. But I think it's a book that a lot of people can enjoy. I've heard very, very, very good things about the audiobook. So I think if you could get your hands on the audiobook, rather take it in that format instead of reading the book physically. I read an ebook of it, obviously, but yeah, I think it would be nice to hear it, especially because while half of the book is told from Sadie's perspective, the other half is told from a podcast, which is a very interesting format. And this podcast follows Sadie and where she is and what she's doing. So I think if you could listen to it as a podcast, it'll probably work so much better for you, and you'll probably be way more invested. Sadie by Courtney Summers, it's a very good book. It deals with heavy topics, and there's a missing sibling, and a lot of grief is dealt with in this book. Okay, so now we get to our fourth book, which is actually coincidentally a 4-star book, and that is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. Everything I Never Told You is about a Chinese-American mixed family. So the dad is a Chinese-American and the mom is a white American, and they get married and they have their children, and the middle child, Lydia, which is, I just said middle child and I got triggered because I'm a middle child. Lydia's the middle child, but she's also very obviously her parents' favorite. I have talked about this book in a previous wrap-up, and also when I talked about the worst parents ever, and those are the two parents, I think James and, what's the mom called? Marilyn? Yeah, James and Marilyn. They're one of the worst parents I've ever read about. So I'm going to ignore them for a bit, but I'm going to talk about the sibling relationship. I still gave this book 4 stars because I love reading about the siblings and their relationship, especially because the parents are so just shitty parents, especially to the youngest daughter, and the dad, James, is really terrible to his eldest son. All 3 children together, there's like a relationship, they love each other, and when Lydia first goes missing and then her body's found in a lake, yeah, it was hard to see the siblings deal with that grief. The parents, I was so, there's this word called gatful. I don't know what it's called in English. Just over it. I don't know, but I was so gatful of James and Marilyn being horrible parents. It was hard to feel sorry for them. Also, like, I mean, you do feel sorry for them, their child died, but I was more focused on the siblings dealing with the fact that their sister is no longer there. For the eldest son, it was also very difficult because he was there for Lydia and Lydia was there for him. Like the youngest sister, she was a bit too young to, like, yeah, she's just ignored by her parents, but we don't see that relationship a lot. But between the 2 older siblings, we see the relationship a lot. And when Lydia's gone, like the older brother, I can't remember his name right now, but he's obviously so lost without his sister to be like the person he supported, the person was there for him. And also the fact that he was going to go away to college also really, really affected Lydia, because she didn't know how she was going to live without her brother. And he just wanted to get away from everything because he wanted to get away from his parents, and it's just really sad. And then also we get scenes of the youngest sister. I think her name's Hannah. I'm not sure about that, I'll have to check it up, but I think her name is Hannah. And like after they find Lydia's body, she like goes to sleep in Lydia's bed, and it's just so hard because like her older sister is not there anymore, and I can't even imagine what that is like for siblings. So this book really deals with so much grief, and I, of course, 100%, I think from these books on, for all this book and the next 2 books, I cried like the little bitch that I am. Very sad. Well, this one I tried not to cry because I was in public, so I'll be like, I've already talked about this book. Oh my gosh, am I just talking about the same books? I feel like I only read 1 book in my life. So yes, very good book, very sad, and the sibling relationship just crushed my heart, and also built it back up and then crashed it again and built it back up. Those 3 siblings should be protected at all costs. I love them, I will adopt them. The next one I also don't have a physical copy of, but I really, really want to own one because I love this book so much. I don't know if I'll ever read it again because I cried so much reading this book. Oh my goodness, and that is Female of the Species by Mindy McGuinness. This book deals also with a lot of grief because you have Alex, who's our main character, and her sister has been murdered as well. Again, it doesn't happen on screen in this book, but there is also sexual assault in this book, and it deals so much with rape culture, which is something that I loved so much. This book just had the best quotes about how boys will be boys, but if females do something, they'll get an eye roll. There's a quote about it. I can't remember the exact words now. I'll put it on the screen. But yes, love the story so much. So Alex's older sister was also murdered, and Alex kind of also goes out for revenge. So this is also kind of a revenge story, but this book doesn't follow Alex's revenge, really. The revenge already happened. We're more following Alex now, and just Alex trying to be a normal teenager. But it's difficult for her. So Alex is really on her own, dealing with the grief of his sister and also the frustration of what she's going through now. It's difficult for her to like deal with the fact, just to deal with everything that's happened, and she's constantly angry, but I think she's also constantly scared because what happened to her sister could happen to anyone, to any young girl, and that's something that is just, it's brought up a lot in that book, which makes it such a hard book to read. But I really, really highly recommend Female of the Species. I think on BookTube in general, it is a book that is talked about a lot. It's where I heard about it the first time. And yes, I highly, highly recommend reading Female of the Species. It is worth it. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. It's one of my new favorite books. Now she's like known as the girl whose sister got murdered, and that is also something that she doesn't like. She doesn't just want to be the girl whose sister was married. But also Alex isn't a normal girl. She can't be normal. She never will be a normal girl. That is a book that I also highly recommend reading, and that is why I put it on this list. The last book I'm going to talk about is my absolute favorite of the year I've read so far. Is it my favorite of the year? Is it a favorite of all time? It's not like my new favorite book of all time, but it's one of my new favorite books of all time. I think this book is, I give it 5 out of 5 stars. I cried. This book broke my heart. I got so angry. I was so happy, and that is The Second Life of Ava Rivers by Faith Gardner. She's such a good book, this book. This book is actually not about the title character. It's about her twin sister, Vera Rivers. So Vera's life is split into like 2 parts. There was before her twin sister Ava disappeared when they were 6 years old, I believe. Before they were 6 years old, where it was like fine, everyone was happy. She had her twin sister, which she shared everything with. They were always together. Ava was always I don't want to say like the center of attention, the loud one, the one like the sparkling one. That's how Vera describes it. And she was just there to support her sister and follow her sister, but she also really cared for her sister. She was the responsible one. And one night when they're 6 years old, I think on Halloween, if I'm correct. Oh my gosh, I should really read this book again. But I think it's Halloween. They go trick-or-treating, and Vera, Ava wants to go play hide and seek, and just Vera doesn't. Vera's tired. Vera wants to go home. She doesn't like going on these little adventures that Ava likes going on. And then Ava disappears, and so this is where the second part of Vera's life begins, and that's just the life without her sister, feeling alone. Her brother isn't really there. They have an older brother. Her brother isn't really there. Her parents aren't really there. Her parents don't even really talk to each other. They're not in love as they were. There's just police everywhere, cameras, interviews, and that is what her life has become, because it's very, from what I could tell from the book, the area where they live is very safe. So something like this it doesn't really happen. But 12 years later, when Vera's 18, about to go to college, she's finished high school, she's ready to move on with her life, move away from her family who isn't really there for her, move away from this town where she's the girl, like in Female of the Species, where she's the girl with the missing sister. Okay, in this case, she's the girl with the missing sister, not the girl with the dead sister. But either way. And then, like I said, 12 years later, a girl shows up at a local hospital. This girl's pretty confused, but she claims to be Ava Rivers, and she wants to go home. A lot of the book deals with Vera getting to know Ava again, and Ava getting to know Vera again, because they were 6 years old when they last saw each other. Vera has basically accepted that her sister is dead. She doesn't think she'll ever see her sister again. She believes 100% that her sister is dead. So she deals with a lot of grief. And then even when Ava comes back, she's like, it's difficult for her to adjust to the fact that she now has a sister, but she's still heartbroken by the fact that she missed so much time with her sister. She doesn't know who her sister is. Her sister's also been through a lot. So again, it doesn't happen in the book, which is something that I really appreciate. It never happens in the book, but it is talked about. So there is sexual assault. They talk about it a little, but it's not explicit, not at all, and it never occurs in the book on the pages. You don't read about it. But I highly recommend this book. The sister relationship, even the brother relationships with his sisters, it's just everything in this book is so heartbreaking. It's so beautiful. I highly recommend this book. I cried so much. And also, especially in the beginning of the book, Vera's really dealing with a heartbreak grief, because her girlfriend kind of betrayed her. She's trying to move on from all of that, She's just trying to date new people and just be happy. But The Second Life of Ava Rivers by Faith Gardner is one of my favorite books of all time. Highly recommend it, and I think that's why I'll put it on this list. I talked so little about the other books in this one. I'm just talking about non-stop, which I should stop because I love this book so much. If you decide to read any book on this list. Obviously, it'd be my favorite one. Okay, that is it. I don't know what you thought of this video. Love this. If you have any thoughts about this video, please let me know. Please be like, hi girl, this is what I thought. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought. If you disagree with me, let me know. If you agree with me, also let me know. If you've read one of these, let me know. If you decide to read one of these, let me know. Just let me know what's up with you, girl. Let me know what's up in your life. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you again in my next video.